Chosen one, this isn't easy to hear, but it's real. And if your heart feels tight already, that's because this message is touching a wound you've carried quietly for a long time. You didn't imagine the distance. You didn't misunderstand the cold tone, the subtle comments, the way support turned into silence. Heaven knows how deeply that confusion has cut you, especially when it came from the very people who were supposed to love you without conditions. Sometimes the people who should recognize your light first are the ones most unsettled by it. Not because you did something wrong, but because your growth exposed something they were never ready to face. And chosen one, before we go deeper, pause for a moment, hit subscribe and comment, "I'm a man," if your spirit is already responding, because this message is about to speak directly to you in ways you've never had words for. You've been investigated without knowing it. Watch closely, compared silently. When God's hand began to rest on your life, something shifted in the atmosphere of your family. Your clarity disturbed familiar patterns. Your healing disrupted unspoken roles. Your refusal to stay small challenged old dynamics. And instead of celebrating your elevation, some reacted with resistance. Have you ever wondered why your peace bothered them more than your pain ever did? Chosen one, this isn't hatred born from evil. It's discomfort born from exposure. Light has a way of revealing what darkness works hard to hide. Your calling didn't create division. It revealed it. Your obedience didn't cause tension, it uncovered it. And the hardest truth is this: not everyone assigned to your origin is assigned to your destination. You survived battles they never saw. You healed wounds they helped create without realizing it. And now as you walk differently, speak differently, choose differently, they don't recognize you anymore. But heaven does. God validates what people question. He confirms what others criticize. He protects what he anoints. So stop internalizing their behavior, chosen one. Stop asking what you did wrong. This distance is not rejection, it is redirection. God is teaching you to protect your peace, not prove your worth, to honor your calling, even when it disrupts familiar expectations. Stay with me, because once you fully understand why this resistance exists, you'll stop shrinking to keep others comfortable and start walking boldly in the identity heaven has already confirmed. A hidden truth is about to surface, and when it does, everything will finally make sense. Chosen one, growth is not loud, but it is revealing. When you began to heal, when your habits shifted, when your priorities changed, something subtle yet powerful happened in the spiritual atmosphere around you. You didn't announce it. You didn't demand attention. You simply grew. And that quiet growth became a mirror others were not prepared to look into. Your evolution highlighted what they postponed. Your discipline exposed what they excused. Your courage reflected the dreams they buried long ago. And without saying a single word, your life began asking questions they didn't want to answer. Have you noticed how your peace made them uncomfortable? How your clarity felt threatening, even though you meant no harm? Chosen one, this is not because you're arrogant or judgmental. It's because growth creates contrast. When someone remains stagnant, they can stay comfortable as long as everyone around them stays the same. But the moment you rise, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, it disrupts the balance they relied on. Your change challenges the stories they tell themselves about why they stayed stuck. You chose healing instead of denial. You chose responsibility instead of excuses. You chose purpose instead of familiarity. And that choice didn't just change you, it exposed avoidance in others. That exposure feels like pressure to someone who isn't ready to move. And pressure, when resisted, often transforms into resentment. Can you see now why the tension didn't start when you failed, but when you grew? Chosen one, resentment is often admiration that has nowhere to go. They see what's possible through you, but instead of allowing that vision to inspire them, it reminds them of time lost, risks avoided, and growth delayed. And rather than facing that discomfort honestly, it's easier to redirect it toward you. Have you felt that shift? Support turning into silence, encouragement turning into criticism? This is why your presence feels different now. You are no longer validating stagnation by staying the same. You are no longer shrinking to protect others from their own reflections. And even if you never spoke about your journey, your life spoke for you. Your consistency, your boundaries, your peace. These are undeniable messages. Chosen one, Do not dim your growth to soothe someone else's discomfort. You were never meant to be proof of what's impossible. You are evidence of what's possible, and those who are ready will be inspired. Those who are not may resist. But neither reaction is your responsibility. So ask yourself this gently. Are you willing to keep growing even if it makes others uncomfortable? Because your calling requires movement, not approval. And the same growth that reveals stagnation today will eventually lead you into environments where your evolution is celebrated, not resented. Stay grounded, stay humble, stay growing. Chosen one, long before you understood who you truly were, a role was quietly assigned to you. Families do this unconsciously. Someone becomes the strong one, the peacemaker, the responsible one, or even the difficult one. These labels are rarely spoken out loud, but they shape expectations, behavior, and power dynamics. And for a long time, you carried that role faithfully, often at great cost to yourself. But something shifted. You began to see yourself beyond the script they wrote for you. You questioned patterns that once felt normal. You stopped absorbing blame that was never yours. You started choosing honesty over harmony, growth over familiarity, truth over survival. And when you stepped out of that role, the old structure began to wobble. Have you noticed how uncomfortable that made people who benefited from you staying the same? Chosen one, your role kept the system balanced. Your silence kept peace. Your sacrifice kept others comfortable. Your predictability made their lives easier. So when you changed, it wasn't just personal, it was structural. The dynamic that depended on you staying small, staying quiet, staying available began to collapse. And not everyone was prepared to rebuild themselves in a healthier way. This is where resistance is born, not because you became selfish, but because you became free. Freedom disrupts unspoken agreements. Boundaries expose entitlement. Growth removes leverage. When you stop playing the role, others were forced to confront their own responsibilities, emotions, and unfinished healing. And for those unwilling to do that work, your freedom feels like betrayal. Ask yourself this, chosen one. Who benefited most from the old version of you? Who had access without accountability? Who felt secure because you carried what they avoided? When you step back from those patterns, it reveals who was invested in you as a person and who was invested in you as a function. Chosen one, God never intended for your identity to be confined to a family role. You are not here to be the glue holding unhealthy dynamics together. You are here to live in truth, alignment, and purpose. And sometimes obedience to God looks like disappointing people who were comfortable with your silence. This doesn't mean you stop loving them. It means you stop losing yourself for them. The discomfort you see now is the sound of old roles losing power. And while not everyone will celebrate your freedom, heaven does. Because when you no longer play a role, you finally step into your calling. So don't go back to who you were just to restore a broken balance. Let the collapse happen. Let healthier dynamics form, or let distance create safety. Your freedom is not the problem. It is the beginning of a new, honest chapter, one where you are loved for who you are, not for the role you played. Chosen one, the moment you began to set boundaries, something shifted in the emotional temperature around you. Not because you became cold, not because you became cruel, but because you stopped bleeding quietly. You stopped over-explaining your choices. You stopped apologizing for needing rest, space, and respect. And what felt like healing to you felt like rejection to them. For a long time, your availability was unlimited. Your understanding had no expiration date. You listened, absorbed, fixed, and adjusted, often at the expense of your own peace. People grew used to having access to you without accountability. They learned that your kindness meant endurance, that your silence meant consent. And when you finally said, "This is as far as I go," it shocked the system. Have you noticed how boundaries reveal who is benefiting from your lack of them? Chosen one, boundaries feel offensive to those who were comfortable crossing them. When you stopped tolerating emotional drain, it forced others to face something uncomfortable. Their dependency, their entitlement, or their unwillingness to meet you with the same care you offered them. To you, this shift was about self-respect. To them, it felt like abandonment. But the truth is, you didn't leave them. You returned to yourself. God is teaching you a holy lesson right now. Love does not require self-betrayal. You can be compassionate without being consumed. You can be present without being powerless. Boundaries are not walls meant to punish others. They are doors that protect what God is rebuilding in you. And anyone who truly values you will learn how to knock instead of force entry. Chosen one, notice how resistance shows up when you no longer explain yourself endlessly. When your no is calm instead of defensive. When your silence is peaceful instead of heavy. That resistance is not proof that you're wrong. It's proof that the dynamic has changed. And change always feels threatening to those who relied on the old version of you. Ask yourself this gently. Were they respecting you when you were exhausted, overwhelmed, and emotionally drained? Or did respect only become a concern when you stopped giving endlessly? This question isn't meant to harden your heart. It's meant to clear your vision. Boundaries don't destroy relationships. They expose them. They reveal who can meet you in maturity and who preferred you manageable. And while it hurts to see disappointment in familiar faces, remember this: God is more invested in your wholeness than in maintaining unhealthy comfort. Chosen one, you are not disrespectful for choosing peace. You are not selfish for protecting your energy. You are not unloving for honoring your limits. You are growing. And growth often feels like loss to those who never planned to grow with you. Stay steady. Let the discomfort pass. The people meant to remain will adjust. And those who don't were never meant to have unlimited access to a healed version of you. Chosen one, something subtle but powerful has changed in you. And it's impossible for others not to feel it. You don't argue the same way anymore. You don't react on impulse. You don't raise your voice just to be heard or defend yourself just to feel justified. Where there used to be intensity, there is now calm. Where there used to be emotional fire, there is now stillness. And that peace, as gentle as it looks, is deeply disruptive to people who survive on chaos. For some, conflict was the language of connection. Arguments kept emotions flowing. Tension created relevance. Drama filled spaces where healing never happened. And for a long time, you unknowingly participated in that cycle, responding, explaining, reacting, absorbing. But now you've stepped out of it. You choose silence over escalation, discernment over reaction, peace over proving your point. Have you noticed how unsettling that is for those who expected a fight? Chosen one, peace exposes what chaos tries to hide. When you stop reacting, manipulation loses its power. When you stop arguing, control weakens. When you stop feeding emotional storms, they lose momentum. And for someone who has learned to regulate themselves through conflict, your calm feels threatening. Not because you're wrong, but because you're no longer predictable. You are no longer available for emotional tug-of-war. You don't chase misunderstandings. You don't engage every provocation. And that forces others to sit with their own emotions instead of projecting them onto you. Can you sense how your stillness makes their unrest louder? How your grounded presence highlights their internal disorder? Chosen one, God is teaching you emotional authority. Not the kind that dominates, but the kind that remains unshaken. Peace is not passivity. It is strength under control. It is power that doesn't need to announce itself. And when you walk in that kind of peace, it naturally disrupts environments built on instability. This is why some try to provoke you back into old patterns. They miss the version of you that reacted, explained, and fought. Not because they loved you more then, but because they had more influence over you. Your peace removes leverage. Your calm redraws boundaries without a single word. Ask yourself this: who benefits when you are emotionally reactive? Who feels more comfortable when you're unsettled instead of centered? This question isn't meant to make you suspicious. It's meant to make you aware. Peace clarifies relationships. It reveals who thrives in harmony and who feeds on disorder. Chosen one, do not surrender your peace to make others feel familiar. You did not find this calm by accident. It was forged through healing, restraint, and obedience. And while it may unsettle those still living in chaos, it is evidence that God has stabilized you from the inside out. Stay anchored, stay gentle, stay unmoved. Your peace is not a threat, it is a testimony. And the more you protect it, the clearer it becomes who is meant to walk with you in this next, quieter, stronger season. Chosen one, there is a version of you some people still mourn, but not because they loved you more then. They missed the version of you they could control. The one who was tired enough to doubt yourself, unsure enough to seek approval, available enough to be molded by expectation. That version of you was easier to predict, easier to influence, easier to keep within limits that benefited them. When you were exhausted, you questioned your instincts. When you were uncertain, you deferred to their opinions. When you were always available, your time, energy, and emotional labor could be accessed without resistance. And they mistook that access for connection. But something shifted. You rested, you healed, you grew confident, and with that confidence came clarity, and control slipped from their hands. Chosen one, confidence doesn't announce itself loudly. It shows up quietly in how you make decisions, how you no longer rush to explain yourself, how you trust your discernment without asking for permission. And that quiet authority is deeply unsettling to people who once benefited from your self-doubt. Have you noticed how their tone changed when you stop second-guessing yourself? Loss of control often disguises itself as concern, as criticism, as hostility masked in advice. When they say, "You've changed," what they often mean is, "I can't reach you the way I used to." When they accuse you of becoming distant, what they're really feeling is distance from the influence they once had. And instead of grieving that honestly, they resist it. Chosen one, God never intended for you to be manageable. You were not created to stay unsure so others could feel secure. Your confidence is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is what happens when healing meets truth. And when that happens, dynamics built on imbalance begin to collapse. Can you sense how your certainty makes old manipulation ineffective? This is why hostility appears where support once lived. Control feeds on access, and access feeds on your exhaustion. Now that you are rested, aware, and rooted, there is nothing to grip. And for some, that feels like loss. But hear this clearly. What they lost was not you. What they lost was power over you. Chosen one, do not apologize for becoming confident. Do not shrink to restore someone else's comfort. God didn't lift you out of survival just for you to return to it voluntarily. Your authority now is earned. It came through endurance, reflection, and obedience. And anyone threatened by that growth was never prepared to walk with the healed version of you. Ask yourself gently, who celebrates your confidence and who resents it? Who adjusts to your strength and who tries to undermine it? These questions aren't meant to isolate you. They are meant to protect you, because where God is taking you next requires discernment, not nostalgia. Stay grounded in who you've become. The version of you that can no longer be controlled is the version God can finally use freely. And that, chosen one, is not something to hide, it is something to honor. Chosen one, favor has a way of quietly changing the atmosphere around you long before it changes the scenery. When your life begins to improve, when peace settles in, when clarity sharpens, when doors open without force, something stirs in the familiar spaces you once shared. Old comparisons wake up, not because you announce your progress, but because favor cannot be hidden for long. Even silence can feel the shift. At first, nothing looks dramatic. Conversations shorten, energy feels different. The warmth that once flowed easily begins to cool. And you may wonder, did I do something wrong? But hear this gently. Favor doesn't create jealousy, it reveals it. When God begins lifting you, it forces others to confront where they are standing. And not everyone is ready for that reflection. Chosen one, jealousy doesn't always show up as open hostility. Sometimes it wears the mask of indifference. Sometimes it sounds like quiet distance, delayed replies, or a lack of celebration when good things happen for you. They don't attack you, they simply withdraw. And that silence can hurt more than words. Have you felt that strange absence where connection used to be? Favor disrupts old equality agreements. When everyone felt on the same level, comparison slept quietly. But when your life starts aligning, healing, expanding, comparison wakes up. Your progress becomes a measuring stick others never asked for, but can't ignore. And instead of rejoicing with you, some retreat inward, wrestling with emotions they don't know how to name. Chosen one, this doesn't mean they are evil. It means they are human. But it does mean you must stop interpreting their silence as your failure. Favor often isolates before it elevates. God gently removes you from spaces where your growth would be resented instead of supported. Not to punish them, but to protect you. Ask yourself this: who can celebrate your blessings without shrinking inside? Who can clap without comparing? These questions aren't meant to harden your heart. They're meant to guide your discernment. Because where God is taking you next requires companionship rooted in security, not silent competition. Favor changes familiarity. The old comfort shifts. The shared jokes feel different. The closeness fades, not because you abandon them, but because alignment changed. And that can be painful. But chosen one, God never removes familiarity without offering purpose. He is making room for relationships that can meet you where you are going, not where you used to be. So don't chase silence. Don't dim your light to revive old comfort. Favor is evidence of obedience, not betrayal. And while some may step back quietly, heaven is stepping closer boldly. Stay grounded, stay grateful, stay humble, because this favor is not the end of the story. It's the signal that something new is forming, and soon the right voices will rise around you, ones that celebrate your growth without comparison and your blessings without resentment. Chosen one, this isn't easy to hear, but it's real. And if your heart feels tight already, that's because this message is touching a wound you've carried quietly for a long time. You didn't imagine the distance. You didn't misunderstand the cold tone, the subtle comments, the way support turned into silence. Heaven knows how deeply that confusion has cut you, especially when it came from the very people who were supposed to love you without conditions. Sometimes the people who should recognize your light first are the ones most unsettled by it. Not because you did something wrong, but because your growth exposed something they were never ready to face. And chosen one, before we go deeper, pause for a moment. Hit subscribe and comment Amen Amen if your spirit is already responding, because this message is about to speak directly to you in ways you've never had words for. You've been investigated without knowing it, watched closely, compared silently. When God's hand began to rest on your life, something shifted in the atmosphere of your family. Your clarity disturbed familiar patterns. Your healing disrupted unspoken roles. Your refusal to stay small challenged old dynamics. And instead of celebrating your elevation, some reacted with resistance. Have you ever wondered why your peace bothered them more than your pain ever did? Chosen one, this isn't hatred born from evil. It's discomfort born from exposure. Light has a way of revealing what darkness works hard to hide. Your calling didn't create division, it revealed it. Your obedience didn't cause tension, it uncovered it. And the hardest truth is this: not everyone assigned to your origin is assigned to your destination. You survived battles they never saw. You healed wounds they helped create without realizing it. And now as you walk differently, speak differently, choose differently, they don't recognize you anymore. But heaven does. God validates what people question. He confirms what others criticize. He protects what he anoints. So stop internalizing their behavior, chosen one. Stop asking what you did wrong. This distance is not rejection, it is redirection. God is teaching you to protect your peace, not prove your worth, to honor your calling, even when it disrupts familiar expectations. Stay with me, because once you fully understand why this resistance exists, you'll stop shrinking to keep others comfortable and start walking boldly in the identity heaven has already confirmed. A hidden truth is about to surface, and when it does, everything will finally make sense.